Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 99%. My name is Jesse Vonderchek, head coach at Top Step Training, topsteptraining.com, and I'm joined by Marilyn. Good morning, Marilyn.
Hey everybody, Marilyn Chakota. You can find everything with me at mcc.coach. I love that you said good afternoon and then good morning to me. That's the setup. You're in Switzerland, I'm in Tucson. It's but early here in Tucson, but afternoon there. So what's fun about that is we come in with different energy, right? I got morning coffee energy and you got afternoon, daytime, run around like Sonic the Hedgehog energy. So that's fun for everybody.
I didn't realize I did that, but it's trying to get all the time zones straight in my brain is a challenge. I don't do well with time zones. Everyone who knows me is, I'm sure, well aware of that at this point, but I'm trying my best. How are you this lovely morning?
Good. Things here, it's things in Tucson are great. This is the best time of year to be here, right? When everyone else is snowed in and all of that. It's the time of year where we see a lot of people starting to trickle into Tucson for winter, getting out of the winter and they want to be here for the better weather and um we've got the addition of the velodrome here now, which is super cool, and we're starting to see cyclists and triathletes trickle into town. We'll see a big flux of that in January after the holidays. But yeah, it's a great time to be in Tucson, and things here are good. Excited for it's always like this time of year, December, January, we start having our camp conversations of planning the details and all of that. So excited. It always creeps up so fast, right? It's like, oh, it's that time of year again. So pretty excited about that. Hope to see some of the old crew come back and then hopefully some new people show up and expand the experience in the camp family. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Yeah, I feel like you're right. I feel like this time of year, it feels like camp is really far away because it's still kind of like December. But from this point until when camp happens, I feel like there's like a time warp, right? Because you get in the holidays, you kind of get sucked in and out of the holiday season and then spat out on the other side. And then all of a sudden camp is right around the corner. So yeah, it's coming up quick. I'm excited. I'm excited to go back to Tucson, see you guys, get to be in the warm weather, sunshine, and yeah, do all my favorite rides and runs. So yeah, it'll be super fun. Um, for those people that maybe don't exactly know much about camp, um, if you're going to describe it in two sentences, what would you tell people about camp? Just something
In
really
two
quick and
sentences.
brief. Well,
Oh my
just to
God.
give like what is camp about? What are gonna if people were looking for something, what happens at camp?
What happens at camp stays at camp? Is it like Vegas? A
No, no,
little bit
don't
like
lead with
that.
that.
It's a great week to start your year because you get a lot of new friends, a lot of new knowledge, a lot of training, and it sets up your year right. So I just think it's such an important part of development as an athlete. And if you're already a really great athlete and have a lot of experience, you get this awesome week of mileage and training with like-minded people and in a great environment where everything is taken care of for you. So yeah, it's just it's a really great way to start your year and get a good week of training in and develop your knowledge base, your miles, and your friendship base. So in the community. So yeah, come to camp. How about you?
Um, Sweet. No, you did a great job. I don't think they even need my
Put me
two
on the spot
sentences.
there, dang.
I know. Uh, but you did a great job, so we're good. Besides that, what's new with you? Are you still, how's the triathlon training going?
Pretty good. Yeah, I am taking it nice and slow, which is good. And it's a little colder in the pool these days in the morning because surprisingly we do get we get that desert air in the morning. So, but it's been good, just steady progress, which is nice. And yeah, not whole lot to report other than just ticking it along. So, and enjoying that. So it's been good. How about you? What's going on with the running, the new adventure running?
Um, Yeah, I would say not a whole lot. I'm really trying to not get too excited too early. Got a lot of time, or at least a fair amount of time to prepare, and so yeah, I've been increasing my mileage, but I think I was at like around 50 miles last week. So still for not riding very much and not swimming really anymore. Not a ton of training time yet, but just kind of getting the mileage steady and up there, and not much intensity yet. Just again, kind of laying the foundation so that after the holidays, I'm in a really good place to jump into some bigger runs, and and yeah, hopefully start kind of building for my very first ultra.
Dang,
Uh,
that's that's a long time to run, dude.
well, yeah. I'm hoping it will be a very far distance, and hopefully the time isn't crazy. But we will find out which one of those feels the longest after. Um,
Right. I'm pretty excited too. The addition to things is there's probably a group of us women who are all right around the same age to train up for doing the team pursuit on the track as well, which would
oh,
be really cool. We're all sort of similar ability. We all ride together on the road all the time anyways, and we're all in the same similar age group within like a handful of years of each other. And so that's, I think, going to be really fun to add in the mix. I've, wanted to do that for a long time and to have that right here in Tucson with the track and then to have, because you need 5 women. And so I think it's like you need 4 to start, you ideally 5 so that if someone can't race, then you've got 4 and you need 3 to finish to get a finish time. So it'd be kind of cool. So we'll see how that just I mean even just fun to do, right? And the training for
yeah,
it.
totally.
So and it fits well with everything because it's masters racing, right? So it doesn't need to be like hyper focused or anything like that. You can kind of get away with mixing things around and you get some really badass time trial speed, that's for sure.
I bet. Yeah, that's super cool. And it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, today we are here to talk about training and the approach to training and kind of like the mindset behind all that and what you can kind of lean on and what can kind of help you as you're approaching this end of the season, or whatever you want to call this stretch of time that does span over the holiday season. Changes in work schedules, changes in requirements as far as social time goes, and maybe like a different vibe to how life is kind of being put together in this whole stretch of time from, call it Thanksgiving, which maybe people are even still racing, but through December, through the New Year's, and then once you get on the other side of New Year's, when maybe you're in that preseason time, things get back in a normal rhythm. But this stretch of time through December and the holidays where things move a little different than usual, eh?
Yeah, it's an interesting time of year. I mean, the Indian Wells just happened, and there's like Western Australia and Arizona and all that. So most of the race season, so long now, right? It's December 8th, and like the last race, one of these last races just happened. So everyone truly should be in some kind of like done for this year. Obviously, we've only got a few weeks left of this year of racing. Um, and this period of time is going to look a little different for depends on where you are, right? If you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you're looking at rolling into summer, or there's some people like the Arizona crew or that are looking at races in January and February, but still trying to navigate the holidays. So that is like a real balance for that type of athlete that their season is really early, or if people are looking at racing like Ironman Malaysia or any of those real early season. So there's that side of it, navigating that. And then there's the other side of the if you finished up your season somewhere between like October, November, early December here, and you're truly into an off season. And then there's just like, let's say somewhere in the middle of most people, it's the holidays. And how do you navigate that? And different approaches I've used as a coach over the years or different athletes and what's important to let go of and what's important to make sure that you continue to do through the holidays and balance it all really well. So I've used different approaches, different athletes, but let's say if you're looking at a group as a whole, I've used different approaches over the years, and what goes into that decision making to make those approaches happen is, for sure. So, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, that people are coming at this time from a few different angles, but I think the main thing that everyone has in common is that the amount of time availability you have is different. And like you want to come out on the other side in, let's call it January. You want to come out at that point ready to start getting back to like structured training the way you're used to, and whatever that means to you, right? It's going to be different for everyone, but that groove that everyone is kind of like jonesing for is going to happen early January, and everyone wants to kind of hit the ground running at that point in time. No matter where they're at now, like, right, that's kind of gonna kind of be the goal, right? And so to me the question is like, how do you get through this stretch of time and be prepared for that to happen, right? So what can you do to like set yourself up for success in December to end up in January and kind of be good to go? And that doesn't mean you have to be like have any sort of fitness level, but I would say like you want to be in a place where you are ready to start training and or absorbing training. And that means kind of like a few different things. And one of the things that it means is in arriving at that point in time is that you need to be like somewhat well rested. And this was a point that you were kind of making before we started, but kind of talking about how this stretch of time can be tiring. And like to set yourself up for success is like, how are you going to end up navigating this, getting some training in order to feel pretty good, but then also come out the other side and be actually ready to train. So you have to have someone amount of rest going in. And so that juggling all those things, I feel like it is a big ask. And so yeah, hopefully we can give people a few strategies or ideas to help them get through this stretch of time. Um, and yeah, I've got a few little things written down here that I've kind of used across the board that have been pretty effective. But the first place I want to start is just like keeping in mind that something is better than nothing. And one of the pitfalls that I see people doing is kind of like overcommitting to the amount of training they think they can do, and then feeling immediately overwhelmed once they can't keep up with like that overzealous training plan through the holidays. Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's always like, you've got a lot more, let's say you've got Christmas parties or family coming in town or you're traveling and you've got a lot more things to, plus you're still at work and, maybe the kids are out of school because they've got their Christmas break or something like that. So there's a lot more moving parts, and you might think, well, I'm taking a period of time where I'm not training as much. I'm going to come out of this period of time, super rested and feeling like excited to go ahead. And I usually see people coming out of the holiday season pretty exhausted. They're like, "Oh my God, I am wrecked." And it's because for the most part, there's so many social obligations that we're not used to, and you're out of your routine. Like that nice routine is what keeps the energy high. So maybe you are exercising less, you're eating differently, you have a lot more social obligations, and it's pretty common to come out of the holidays feeling pretty trashed actually. And so how do we combat that, and mentally as well, right? So if mentally that's you come out of it feeling pretty demotivated and feeling like, oh man, I feel like I'm not even myself, or I'm not super motivated to do anything because I'm so tired from all of this. I guess I'm saying all this to let people know that's really normal. Like that is the most I hear that stuff all the time, year after year for over 25 years from all kinds of different athletes. Like this period of time, there's common themes, and like you said, overcommitting is a big issue, but also just like um under getting your schedule flipped out upside down can be pretty stressful for people. And so just knowing that in advance and planning for it and knowing like, okay, what am I going to be okay with, and how do I come out of this period of time knowing that I'm looking at the full year, right? And it is necessary to lose a little bit of fitness at some point in the year. If you plan your season right and you're looking at, if you've had this great big year, remember it's absolutely necessary and definitely nothing wrong with if you've got this chunk of time to have your fitness come down a little bit, put a little bit of weight on, a little bit, right? We don't want so much that it's going to be very hard to get back to yourself, but we want to let the fitness come down, let your immune system come up, let your fatigue level go away, get a little bit out of shape. It's okay to get a little bit out of shape because in order to tackle that next season and get to a new level of fitness, we need these periods where the fitness comes down. If you're just sort of always in that steady blur of the same fitness level, it's very hard to keep moving up from that. So we actually want it to dip down at certain times of the year. This is a good time to do that, right? Because you've got all those other commitments. And it's a good time to invest back into your support network. If you've got friends and family and people in your life, your work that have been super understanding and supportive all year, and they're really behind you and giving you that freedom and space to get after the things that you like, it's a good time of year to invest back in that because you want them to continue to do that. So if you're not around, not available, and not interested in giving back to them through the holidays, there might come a point when it's important for you to be for them to be there for you, and they're like, you know what? I'm just not going to be because you never flip the coin. So I encourage people to look at it that way. And the bigger your season was, I think probably the more important that is at this time of year.
I love that. That's a very important thing to consider and a good time of year to carve out time for that type of thing, right? When your training is less important and it is important to maintain yeah, those relationships. Um, so what have you done with your athletes that you feel like has been successful in helping them meet that goal of coming out the other side feeling like maybe they're tired from mentally a little bit exhausted, but their body is like in a good position to train. What kind of things have you implemented this time of year to help people arrive there?
So yeah, so in past years I've done for a number of years in a row. In past years I've done the December Run Challenge, which gives people just like a singular focus. If I can get out for a run every single day, and they've got sort of that camaraderie with the team, just sort of like a little check-in point that's more than just me, where they're like, hey, we're all kind of excited about like, even if I can just get out for a 20-minute run, at least like you said, no zeros, you've done something for the day. So even if you can't get to the pool or the bikes are too many hours or, but you get out for a 20-minute jog every single day. So I've used that strategy a lot over the years, and that's seen people like get a little boost in their running durability and their aerobic base in the run, had a positive impact in the year, as well as given them that like a little bit of motivation to just at least get something in every day around the Christmas craziness or holiday craziness, right? This year in particular, I'm not doing that, and it's because I've seen a huge commitment from all of my athletes this year with training and racing. So my group specifically. So that strategy works really well. I encourage it for a lot of people, and I've used it for years. This year in particular, we've had a really big year, a lot of racing, a lot of training. And as a coach, I always look at, you know, I look at each individual athlete, but I also take the time to sort of broad paintbrush look at the overall total, like how is my group doing and how am I doing as a coach? And so there's the debrief for each individual, and then there's sort of like, what is the most common thing I see amongst the group that's going to give you an idea on how some of the things that you need to look at as a coach. And I feel like everybody in at this point probably needs a little break as far as feeling super structured. And so I want them to have a really reduced amount of stress in their life. So I've given them quite a bit less training than what their normal training is, and given them a lot of freedom. Like, hey, if you miss stuff right now, don't worry about it. Like, as long as we're getting a little bit in every week, if you need to cut things short, if you need to miss it, if you need to move it, like, I'm usually really strict about that stuff. But for these next few weeks, I want people to just mentally, emotionally, and physically have a real deload this year. And so, of course, I've got athletes that doesn't apply to, and they're maybe newer with me or they've got early season races, and that's a little different. But let's say, like on the big paintbrush side of things, it's like, okay, instead of doing the run challenge this year, I'm going to have everybody just sort of relax through this time and really enjoy the holidays and have a lot of mental, emotional, and physical freedom. Stay in touch just enough for sure. It's important. We can't just like sit around and do nothing because that's going to set you up for injury and failure when we get started again. But I think a big decompress for my group, it specifically for the next few weeks is really important because I want to make sure that that energy ticket is full when we hit January, right? And it's always like that first week of January. I always leave the same sort of wiggle room because everybody's trying to get on the other side of the holidays and get their feet back under them and not feel like Bambi on ice from all of that. But then once we're in the second, third, fourth week in January, it's going to be all right. It's going to be go time as far as structuring the season, setting goals, debriefing last year, starting to set the plan, like what are we looking at? What's the time commitments, the travel, the races that excite us? What's the training going to look like? And come into that feeling like excited about it, right? And I want to see that excitement level really high.
Um, so in that you said you want them to do just enough. Um, I I would love to hear what that means. So like, what are you going to have people doing that's going to be just enough? And if since I've been thinking about this while you're talking, maybe I'll go for a little bit and let you think about what what that means to you,
Yeah,
and
what's it mean
so
to
I'm
me
not putting
too?
you on the spot again here. And so for me, I it's easiest, I feel like this time of year to let the bike go a bit and know that fitness on the bike can come back, and like the form and durability in riding is something that's very easy to plug in and out of, and like in that will come back, right? And risk of injury in that department is pretty low. So for me, if people like need to take a break from the bike, this is a great time of year to do it. And you can kind of, let the bike get a little bit dusty if you need to. I mean, if you can ride it once a week, that's awesome. And if you're super motivated and you can do a few like 30-minute trainer rides, we can talk about some things you can get in there, like, some sprints or some cadence work, some things like that to get a really effective 30-minute ride in that you can do a couple of times over the holidays and feel like that's pretty connected. But I would also say if you're like, hey, I'm not going to be able to ride much, and maybe I'm going to go for a fun mountain bike ride if the roads are dry or whatever it is. And like I'd say that's cool with me. We can again, we can pick up that piece. Fitness might be a little bit lower, but risk of injury isn't going to inhibit us from getting back on the bike a fair bit in January. For the other two, though, I think it is a little more important to stay in touch. But the nice thing is, I think that can be pretty short as far as time commitment. Like you talked about the 20-minute run. If someone can run 20 minutes 3 times a week during the holidays, I mean, sure, maybe in my dream world, I'd want them to run a little bit more. I might want them to do some strides, probably like uphill. Maybe it's just something like 6 by 20 seconds. Um, but again, even if that's a 20-minute run, a 30-minute run, and a 45-minute run, something like that in a week, if you can run 3 times, then I feel like that's going to be enough to help keep you safe to continue running again in January once you're getting back to a little more structure. And and that being said, I feel like people have these thoughts of like, okay, I'm going for a run, and that needs to look a certain way. And I would say this time of year that things can look a little bit different. And like by that I mean this morning I did a 20-minute run to start my day, and it was running my daughter to school, and I was doing it in jeans and a sweatshirt and um, running shoes. And like we weren't running fast. She's riding her bike. She can't ride her bike super fast yet. I mean, she can drop me on the flats and the downhills when she wants to smirk at me and laugh. Um, but for the most part, we're jogging along, 10-minute miles. And like for me right now, that's pretty easy, and I can do that in jeans just fine. And so I can get in a 20-minute super easy jog. And it's kind of like maybe I break a small sweat, but my tendons and ligaments and my muscles are getting the impact, and they're doing enough so that when I run a little bit harder tomorrow, I'm going to feel like better for having done that 20-minute run. And so like having that kind of, I don't know, maybe slightly outside the box approach for like what a run needs to look like can really help you this time of year where like, oh, I don't know, whatever, you're taking your kids sledding and you're like, oh, we're on a hill. I could jog up this hill nice and easy, but just get a little bit of that kind of blood flow in. Um, and so yeah, that's kind of like what I would really encourage people to think about is like, hey, it can be short, doesn't have to be super hard, but a little bit of consistency in there, and then also trying to find like maybe fun or different ways you can plug that running in where it doesn't have to be the production it tends to become during the year, which is, it's a good thing. There's a lot of, running in jeans is probably not the most comfortable thing you can do. So I'm not like saying those routines are bad, but I'm just saying sometimes if you're like, hey, I need to go, my time to go for a run is right now, and it's going to be a commute with jeans and a backpack on, but you can still jog for 20 minutes, then I say go ahead and go for it. Um, I have some thoughts on swimming, but let's pass it over to you, and maybe we can just stick with like running and riding, and tell me what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, the other what I was thinking about when you were saying that too is that we're so used to having our routines and feeling, I mean, leaning on feeling somewhat good into sessions and whatever that looks like for you. Or like, we're used to feeling a certain way before we head out to our bike ride or our run and that kind of thing. And because of this interruption in schedule and environment and nutrition and sleep patterns and all of that, I think it's important to expect to not feel the way you normally do and to adjust your thoughts as you head into a session. Like, I don't need to feel a certain way to go get this run done, or I don't need to. So not only what you were talking about in terms of like what it might look like, but also how you might feel and how you might feel during the session. Sometimes we get attached to those feelings of like, in order for me to be gaining fitness or for this to even be worth it, like, is it even worth it for me to do this, right? Is that it needs to feel a certain way. And I think letting go of that through the holidays is really important anyway, as well as just saying like, I'm just going to get this done anyways. Like, I just need to get out there. And like you say, there is a structural importance to it as far as like tendons and ligaments. And I agree, like running is the one that you're if you take a huge amount of time off, the injury risk when you start back up or having to start so small when you start back up sets you backwards. So just a little bit like 15, 20 minutes makes a big difference with running and keeping in touch with that. Um it's going to set you up for being able to start back at a pretty decent level without getting injured. That's the main thing we're looking at, right? Like, are you gaining a ton of fitness from it? No, and that's okay. That's totally okay. But you're setting yourself up for success when it's time to get going so that you're not like, you don't get 3 weeks into January and pop up with an injury. So that's super important. For me, it's pretty similar. I mean, I think for my athletes, I look at it a little bit more as long as we're hitting swim once a week or twice a week, bike once to ideally at least twice a week. Maybe even, a third session if that's possible, like you're saying, 30 minutes to an hour if people are stuck on the trainer. And 2 runs a week. So basically, you can hit everything twice. Two little core gym routines, 2 swims, 2 bikes, and 2 runs. And we do something every day. And one of those days, if we can only get to the pool once, then that's okay because the pool is the most time consuming, right? Like driving to the pool, doing your swim workout, driving home. Sometimes in the holidays, that actually can be the most inconvenient versus just like popping onto your trainer or popping out the door for a run, or you do your little core routine right there in the living room. Those can be really time effective. So if we're getting each of those twice and one swim and we're getting something every day, I'm pretty happy with my athletes. I'm like, okay, we're doing well. So for the triathletes and the multi-sport athletes, that's, if we're able to do that, if you're not even able to do that and you're only able to get each sport plus a little core gym routine once a week through this time, then we're staying connected just enough, just enough that when we pop out of this part of the season, you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, totally. And like, you mentioned the little core gym routine in there, and I think that's an important piece. And I'd kind of like to deep dive on that just a little bit because I think that's something that is can be a real value add. And just like you said, like the pool can be really hard to get to during the holidays.
A lot of pools are closed too. Like
And yeah,
they're like closed and then open and closed, and their hours are different and everything. So that one can be like the biggest pain in the ass for sure in the holidays.
yeah, totally. And
Yeah.
especially if it's like a pool connected to a school or something where the school's like, well, we're shut down. So, 3 weeks, no pool access or, whatever it is. And yeah, it definitely becomes a bigger hurdle this time of year. I mean, also it's like, it's probably cold out, which makes going to the pool in the winter way harder.
Well, we all need to toughen up just a little bit.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I hear the words you're saying, but like when it's snowing out and icy, it's just
Uh,
like, oh, what do I want to do right now? Oh, I want to get in a But anyways, um, no, but let's leave the cold aside. That's not a real reason you should toughen up and go to the pool. But
right.
if your pool is closed, let's stick with that one. And you can only swim maybe once a week, or then you have like, a 10-day break, and then you'd find another pool again. I think that small gym routine or some sort of like little bit of core work you can do at home, that can be the thing that can really keep you connected where yeah, maybe you haven't swam in a week, but you're not going to get in and feel absolutely horrible. A lot of people talk about feel for the water, and I think some of that feel for the water, yeah, is exactly that. But there is also some of that, well, like I haven't used my shoulders in a week because I only run, and like, yeah, maybe they hold me up a little bit riding my bike. But I think you can actually like if you can get your muscles firing a couple of times so that when you go to the pool next, you've used your shoulders, you've used your lats, you've engaged your core. That piece can also really help. And I think swim cords are also a great tool. Again, I don't think they are a great tool for necessarily like gaining huge amounts of fitness, but to get that activation, get those muscles firing, and just keep like, keep you somewhat connected to what you want to feel like. And I think, even 10 minutes of using swim cords um, like call it twice a week to connect you to that next swim can be a really good tool to again just keep you connected. And I also think it's really important though if you are going to use swim cords to really try and like visualize swimming and visualize yourself and visualize how you want to look and feel in the water and maybe watch some video of technique or watch some video of like your favorite swimmer swimming really well so you have like that mental engagement side besides just the actual swim courts. Um,
Yeah, I
and
used to do swim cords in front of the mirror, right?
oh
Like,
yeah, yeah, there you
yeah,
go.
you set up your swim cords in front of the mirror. I encourage my athletes to do that a lot because then you can watch what you're doing. Like, what is my fingertips and wrist doing in relationship to my elbow? I have a nice, high elbow. Really watching that stuff. What's my pull pattern? What does that look like with the cords? I think that's super useful. So if you can do swim cords in front of a mirror, that can be, you know if you don't have access to a pool, it can be great for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. And then, I also feel like just some things like some push-ups and some pull-ups that, and I do think you have to be careful if you haven't done much of that stuff. And then you're like, all right, here we go. 20 minutes, as many push-ups as I can do. You don't want to be sore for 10 days after that anyway, either. So you do have to approach all this stuff with, depends on where your starting point is and how much of this stuff you've done and kind of where you're at in that whole with a coach or like someone else, or you can really take a good look and say, well, if you haven't done push-ups in 2 months, then maybe you need to really be careful. And like same with pull-ups. But if you've been doing some of that stuff a little bit, just keeping that in or maybe adding them just a little bit more um, can really help. Yeah, help how you feel the next time you get in the water.
One thing that I want to actually I know this is going to flip things upside down a little bit. There are some athletes that through the holidays, they're off work and they don't have kids and maybe they do live somewhere that has good weather. They're in Florida or they're in Arizona or they're in the Southern Hemisphere and they don't have a whole bunch of other commitments and they're looking at it going, this is a great time for me to put in a whole bunch of training because I don't have all these other commitments. I'm off work and everybody else is, really busy, but I've got this like chunk of time to put in a bunch of training. So if that's you, if that, because we're talking about just how do you approach this time of year and the holidays, and if that is you and what your situation is, what I really encourage you to do is look at how are you, don't just look at that block of time and go, I'm going to train a whole bunch. Now, that could be fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want it to be effective in your plan, sort of step back for a second and look at like, what have you been doing all year so far? And what does your season look like? And what are you hoping to accomplish in the next year? Because you want to make sure that you're not overdoing it at this time and that understanding that piece that we talked about for everyone where for everyone who is very busy during the holidays and in the colder places it's going to happen naturally that deload and that level of fitness is going to come down and all these things that we're setting people up for understanding as the holidays come in. For the other ones in this other situation, it'd be really easy to overdo it through this time and then they end up peaking in like February, and then later in the year, they wonder why are they absolutely cooked and burnt out or injured, or they're not able to hit peak performances that they were hoping to in, let's say, like April, May, June, July, because they didn't let themselves come down at the end of the year, and they did too much in that period of time, and they're like, oh man, I'm not sure what's going on. So I guess what I'm encouraging is if that's you, if that's your situation, which is different than all these other scenarios that we're talking about, make sure you step back and look at your season planning and the broader lens of where you're coming at the end of the season and where you're wanting to go for the next season. So, just a little like flip of the script there for some other people who are in different situations.
Yeah, no, that is very good advice for people to not just kind of go absolutely crazy and yeah, use all this time um to then yeah be super fit in February. It's a tough balance. I mean, I think there's definitely a way to be able to train a lot and use the time effectively. But yeah, you do have to look at that roadmap and know kind of where you've come from and where you're going and what is the most effective way to again set yourself up to be in a great place to build off of, what you're doing now and not just kind of like come down off of what you're doing now.
And I think the main message of what we're saying with all of this, because we're human and we get emotional and we really enjoy our training and we get attached to either routines or not routines or this thing is that like it's important in all these cases, no matter what side of the scale you're on all this stuff, to understand that good performance only happens with really good planning and to be able to understand that stuff like okay it's the end of the year, is it okay for me to have this downtime and I'm investing back in my family and holidays and friends and my body and my health and all of these things so that then I have a better year and that it's truly okay. And you know but not just falling completely off the wagon through this time, right? Because that's part of the planning. It's very important to know, yes, I do need to stay in touch. I need to do, if I would like to stay healthy and continue to progress and have good performances the next year, I do need to have a little contact with the swim, bike, run, and the specific points that we're talking about to set yourself up well. So all of these things, I think if you're going to put like a staple rule on it, it's like take a few minutes as you head into the holidays and understand that the planning piece and once you is really important, and once you understand that planning, it's going to help you have a lot more ease mentally and emotionally with the decisions that you're making through the holidays, whether it's a lot of training or less training or no, anywhere in between. But whatever that is, you're just going to feel more confident in that because you've taken the time to have this conversation with yourself, look at a calendar, have this conversation with whoever helps you with your planning, your coach, mentors, whatever it is for you. And that's just like it's just a huge important part of it to set yourself up for less frustration and more success for sure.
And yeah, to add to that too is really I think understanding, the why does it matter? Why does that 20-minute run matter? Like why am I setting aside 15 minutes in my morning to, do push-ups and swim bands? Like why am I not just like, whatever, drinking coffee with my family? And And I think really understanding that like that 15 or 20 minutes is actually the thing that is going to set you up for success later in the year. And you really do need that consistent bit. And like it doesn't have to be a ton, like we said, but like it does have to be something there, right? And so really just like assigning value to that and prioritizing it and knowing like maybe it is like again like doing that planning ahead of time where you're like, hey, where can I fit in these 15 or 20-minute blocks of time in the next week or two? And how is this flow going to go, and what days are just going to be totally full, and having a good understanding of what that's going to look like. And then planning ahead, putting in these chunks of time, and then understanding that by doing so you are going to come out the other side, and hopefully you will be in a great place structurally so that you can, attack the year and be fit at the right time later on.
Right?
Um, I think we did it.
We both got on a tangent on those ones. But yeah, I think, I hope that everyone truly enjoys their holidays and spend some time with family and friends and enjoy some of those extra treats and let yourself have some fun. And yeah, it's a good time of year to do it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think too, like you said, like you do want to be able to enjoy it, and so you want to be able to lean into the fun and the friends and the little bit of training you are doing. And the last thing you want to do is spend the whole holiday season kind of fretting about anything really, including triathlon. So I would say, have a plan, stick to it. Don't worry about doing more. Just do the little bit that you can do, and then enjoy the time you are, spending with friends and family, and or whatever you're doing. Just try to lean in and enjoy it, and don't worry about what you kind of can't be doing because of whatever the situation is. And yeah, know that there'll be time once you're back in a groove to shore up those gaps, assuming you've kept yourself moving a little bit, so you can do that in January, February.
Right? And definitely do a run in reindeer ears at some point.
Um, yes.
That's a necessary. I think we definitely all need to do at least one run in reindeer ears and share it with us.
Uh,
I would like
could it be
that. I
like
would
any
like,
sort of Christmas attire, or does it
yeah,
have to be the only thing is reindeer? And that's
it can be
fine.
any,
It can be a hard.
it can be, well, I think I kind of like the reindeer ears. So I
All
think
right.
like if you've listened to this podcast, you should probably do a run of at least 15 minutes or a walk if you're a cyclist only or swimmer only in reindeer ears and take a photo and send it to Jesse and I. That would make my Christmas. That would make my Christmas.
Oh, okay. Marilyn has put her Christmas wish list out. You heard it today. It's a
Right?
photo of you running in reindeer ears, tagging Marilyn and Jesse, and
Sweet.
um, and yeah, that will I feel like this you've just spawned a Christmas challenge that now we need to have some sort of gift, which now is going to happen. I've just decided we're going to have some sort of gift for the people who tag us with the best photo running in reindeer ears.
Uh,
So get on it. You've got a couple of weeks here this December. Look at We'll keep our eye out. Tag us in the photo, post it on the Instagrams, and you're going to get an amazing gift from the 99% team, which consists of Marilyn and Jesse.
and that would make my Christmas. So please do it.
And you're going to make Marilyn's Christmas, so what could be
Right?
better?
All
I
right.
I know where my reindeer ears are. I'm getting them out after this podcast to start planning my Christmas run.
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks so much for your time, Jesse. Cheers.
Thank you very much.